Hi, I'm Marianne Clyde, and this is,
Lorna McGill.
and we're here with the Isn't She Amazing podcast with another amazing guest, Shari
Yeah.
Goodwin. Say hey.
Hey.
She's a strategist, an author, a speaker, a coach, and I've used her as my own coach from time to time, and she's very effective, very intuitive, and creative in the way that she helps people reinvent themselves when they are looking to make changes in their lives. So, Shari, I'm glad you're here.
Well, I
Oh,
just wanted to add real quick, just not only does she have all those skills, but she herself has gone through many iterations in her life. So
That's absolutely right.
well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you both. It's such an honor to be here on your program and to be part of this journey with you guys. So I'm really excited about this conversation today. So thank you both.
Well, that's neat. And I'm going to have to remember to put your TEDx talk link on the screen somewhere after we close up so people can see you there too, because that was a very effective talk.
Oh, well, thanks so much for coming live. It was so great to have you there.
Well, okay, so our audience is largely women over 50. And what kind of changes do women over 50 go? Not that any of us would know, of course, but if we were over 50, Lorna, what are some of the changes we go through where we find ourselves needing to reinvent ourselves?
I think we go through, I'll just talk about myself personally. I go through
Yeah.
career change, empty nester, just, you have like friends that come in and out of your life. And so that's a change. And even just like at this age, like we have so many assets and we've had so many experiences, and like how do you even optimize that? So I think I've run into a lot of women that struggle with that or really wrestling with that. So I think that's a big, it's personal and professional.
Both.
Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Shari, even you, major horsewoman for what, 30 years, but more than that, all your life, I guess. But you even found yourself a brand new racehorse in a way that I don't think you were really looking for one at the time, were you?
No. I was looking for a nice little safe packer trail horse who had lots of age and had taken lots of people on trails and things like that. And I don't know, the universe works in mysterious ways. So yeah.
And you found yourself Lemon Squeezy.
That's what I was gonna say. I love that name. How did
Yes.
that come about?
Well, oh gosh. Well, the name, we'll do the easy part first. So the name Lemon Squeezy, well, I always say easy peasy lemon squeezy. I've been saying that since I was a kid. I don't know why, but I've always been saying that. And his registered name is Lemon K. And I got to the lemon part and I was like, oh, easy peasy lemon squeezy. And he seemed at the time when I first met him to be such a sweet, and he's a sweet, easy, laid back dude. And so I thought, oh, I'm just saying easy peasy lemon squeezy. And my husband said, oh, you need to call him Lemon Squeezy. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. I can't have a horse named Lemon Squeezy. I mean, what am I going to do with that? And he says, oh, no, you can. So I thought, all right, I'll try it out. So the day I got him home, I called the vet because I had to get all the vaccines and all the stuff. And I said, oh yeah, so I have this new horse. I have 4 other horses as well. And they said, okay, well, what's his name? And I said, Lemon Squeezy. And they said, what was that? And I said, Lemon Squeezy. And they started laughing. And I was like, oh gosh. So anyway,
I told him it wasn't a good name.
right. So I mean, he has to live with this thing. So he actually owns it. He is quite Lemon Squeezy. I mean, he walks with vigor, and he's proud, I think, to carry that name.
So he was a huge transition in your life because, as adorable as he is, he also had some opinions of his own, I think, as you got more and more into training him and getting to know him. And so that was a big transition in your life because it was something you weren't even expecting.
Like most transitions, right? I mean, these are our metaphors for life. My horses, I work with them, and as you know, as you both know, and Marianne, you definitely know, I partner with them in the business as part of the business. And they're gosh, there's so much learning from nature and from horses, and so they're constantly teaching me all kinds of new things about self-awareness. I'm like, oh, I thought I had that down. Nope. Here's some fresh new insight for you to ponder. Like, okay, excellent. So there's this kind of daily renewal. It's almost a reset where each day is a blank slate, really, where you can kind of reinvent and create a new version of yourself if you want to. So Lemon Squeezy gave me this opportunity, I will say.
Very, very healthy approach. Yes.
Yeah, when I'm at my highest and best, I can
Yes,
I can
there
do
you
that. Then there's
When
those
you're
other
doing a
days,
podcast.
right? And then there's those other days where I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? This is terrible. I'm the worst. This is completely incompetent, incapable, and all those other things. So, you know, there's the yin and yang and the whole thing with all of it.
Well, what's so awesome about horses, because I did a leadership course and it was involved horses. So we had to lead the horse, and it was just how they're so in tune they are to your emotions. And if you're like off, they're off. Like they just feed off of you. So it was that was an incredible experience for me. So I can't imagine what it's like for you, like every day, like working through that, and also reminding you. It reminds you of what your shortcomings are, what you need to work on.
They do, and they also do other things. They'll validate you where you're really strong as well. And I love that you did that, Lorna. That's so awesome. And so it's so fun for me because I have luckily I have a couple of horses who are real confidence builders, and so they've been with me. Most of my horses have been with me since they were babies, and now we're dealing with a succession issue actually because they're kind of aging out of the program. Some are kind of saying, "Hey, talk to the hoof. I'm done with this." and you know, so there's another opportunity. But so when you have a more spirited or challenging horse or somebody who needs you to be super calm, and that's what he's looking for. He's a Lemon Squeezy I'm referring to. He needs chill, confident, clarity, everything I talk about in my leadership work, everything I aspire to be. And with him, I am sometimes almost there, and most of the time not really there. Some days I'm better than others. Today I actually had a really good day, so feeling happy about that. He was totally chill. Yeah, thanks. Small win, you know.
And you gotta take it when you get them.
Exactly. And the thing is, he's not difficult at all. He's not a difficult horse. He's so easy to ride. He's really very good with the aids, all of that kind of stuff. He's just here. When he gets scared, if he gets triggered really fast. And you may know some people like this. And if I don't preempt it, if I'm not quick enough, he can escalate pretty quick, and then I'm behind the 8 ball. Then I get scared, and if I'm scared and he's scared, then we're all like, you know, doesn't serve anybody. So so we really need to get our chill on and work on that. So that's what I do mostly with him, because the actual it's actually kind of interesting because the tactical stuff is not hard. He's super smart. And now that I'm saying that, and thinking about a lot of the clients who I work with who are so incredibly bright, they're already super successful, probably like many in the Isn't She Amazing community. And then all of a sudden the energy starts to get a little anxious, you know, and especially in a reinvention or a transition, we start to lose our footing. We start to lose our identity. This is a really big part of what the kind of work that I do and the work that I have been doing on myself, as well as I've made these transitions. And when you don't have that terra firma, that confident ground, that good ground, that where you're like, yeah, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm good at, you know, all these different things. And that comes out from under you. It's tough. It's a scramble, and it really can mess with your energy and the lens with which you see the world and how the actions that you take. So I need to work on that.
Got to say, like, it's like you're talking to me, because that's exactly. I actually had someone I was going through this transition say was like a three-legged stool, and so when you do go through these transitions, because I resigned from a really prestigious job. I had my son was getting ready to graduate from college. I was going to be an empty nester, and my husband was undergoing some health issues. And so everything came out from underneath me. I didn't have anything stable, and it's really off-putting. It takes a lot of work to kind of figure out like who are you and what does this next phase of your life look like? So it's awesome that you're working with people.
Well, and what you said, Shari, excuse me, was when at the couple minutes ago you were talking about with lemon squeezy, and you pointed to your head, and it's what goes on in his head. And I was thinking about how true that is for all of us that are going through anything, a transition, a job change, a divorce, a retirement, a new horse, whatever it is. And it all begins with what we're thinking about, because our thoughts inform those feelings, because we have certain thoughts about, well, retirement is, and I've done it a couple of times, so I know what thoughts
And
I
I
have.
just want to say, like, the three of us have reinvented ourselves numerous times. So I just love when I was just like reading all about your history, Shari. I was like, Shari and I really need to get together for lunch because we have so much in common. Like the water, like I never knew, like I wish I would have known there was like a career like that when I was going to college. I had no idea. And just you were in IT, I did IT, just like, but when you do transition through all that, you take that with you. I'm sure that you found that you take certain things from each of the parts of your life that build you to this point.
Yeah, and that's such a great point. And there's some different aspects of that. So I think the most important part is the present, is the now. And so we can't rest on past glory, because that, it's just, so some people are a little stuck in back there when they were great at whatever it was, whether it's at, some professional achievement or you were leading some big gigantic thing. And that was then, and here we are now. So there's this gap between the past and the present, and there's a big old question mark on the future. So that space becomes really uncertain and gets very uncomfortable. So what we want to take from this is what I've found anyway, is we want to take some of the highlights from the past, recognizing that that's who you were then, and you have pieces of that you can bring forward now, and you're a different person now. So what I see oftentimes is folks will have these goals, but the goals are not really goals that they want now. They were old goals that they didn't achieve, and that they're now thinking they want to bring them into the present. And there's resentment, there's all kinds of issues, dream interrupted, all kinds of strange stuff that happens with that. And I've had it too. But the wonderful thing about the present is it's an opportunity to take some of that and then empower yourself to be even stronger and better than you were back then. And that's what's most exciting for me, is when you start to realize that and sit in that place of, I guess it is empowerment, and feel that kind of fuel and start looking at opportunities and possibilities and new relationships from that perspective. It's really such a much more positive outlook.
Well, Shari, and you too, you can help your clients dream big, and you track with them with their big dreams and where they want to go and what they want to go. And yet you're holding them very firmly to the moment where they are. And because you don't allow your clients to live in the future. And the way I remember a time when you and I were working together, probably 10 years ago. And I was thinking about, we were kind of working on another reinvention, and I was getting ready to raise my rates, and do you remember that? And we were talking about what I wanted to raise them to, and we got to the point where I felt okay about that. And then I said, okay, so starting July 1st, I'm going to raise my rates. And you said, what's wrong with tomorrow? What's wrong with today? It's like we weaken ourselves, I think, by thinking Yes, yes, I can do that. So one day I'm going to do that. And you're all about today's one day, what's wrong with today?
Well, and it's so true. I mean, because that is so common. You are like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that.
Mhm.
Because I'm
And
so uncomfortable with it and I really don't want to do it. So maybe something will interfere down the line and I won't have to do it.
well, that's right. And that's all, we come from a place of, um, fear, I guess, but probably that fear of the future, fear of success, fear of what if I don't do it right? What if I don't match up to what I want to do?
What if nobody
And
pays the rates?
those kinds of things, yeah. And it comes all has to do with how we present ourselves, like we do at one of Shari's workshops. That I wouldn't call it a workshop because it's in your barn. What would you call it? Or do you,
Yeah, well, I do call them workshops. I mean, the
okay,
retreats. So yeah, just,
retreat? Yeah.
yeah, retreats. Yeah.
And that's all about what Lorna, you were talking about earlier. It's all about, you have to show up for the horse and the horse has to show up for you.
I mean, I just have to say, if someone one of our audience members have not done that, like that is such an empowering and incredible experience, because even like just showing you how to be a leader, like we had there were several of us that were in a group, and they had said, like, take this horse in a circle, have him go a circle, or have him do a square, and like you're thinking, like, he's just gonna follow me, but they didn't. You're like, well, obviously they're like, this is part of your leadership. Like you just can't like drag him along. And so it was just like, it gave you such pause. And I just remember all of us were so exhausted after that experience, because it told us a lot about ourselves that we were so not even aware of. So I would encourage anybody hasn't done that, work with a horse, to really try it.
Yeah, Shari's great at leading that. And she makes you do it without talking. Like you
Oh, well,
can't say
hold on.
anything.
That's what I made you do, Marianne. So
But
hold on.
honestly, yeah.
Honestly, we did. Yeah. So, and all right. So here's the crazy thing, right? We're talking, we have Marianne and Lorna. Lorna, I don't know you too well, but I know that you're incredible and amazing. And Marianne, I know quite well and is epic. So seriously, amazing isn't even enough. I upgraded to epic with you, Marianne, many years ago. So I was like, well, what isn't she epic? What is this? Isn't she amazing? Isn't she epic? But that's okay. Maybe that's the next version of this.
Right,
but,
right.
we'll stick with amazing. So I want to go back to something that you said, though, because I think it's really, really important about the kind of the fee example that you gave, because it's so illustrative of what we all go through. And the reason why I'm recalling now, the reason why I suggested what I did at that moment when I said, well, why not tomorrow, was because you had done the work in that one session, and your energy and your vision were completely in alignment, and there was a readiness for now. So you were ready to take the step the next day. Sometimes people are not, right? So they kind of have to take, they're not quite in alignment, and that's okay. And so you can sneak into it. You don't have to jump off the cliff and do the jump out of the airplane like you guys do. You can actually scale it way back and make that thing real now with this teeny tiny baby step, right? So it's the thought and then some tiny action that's just gonna move it forward in a little micro move forward, and these tiny little incremental movements over time, just like a diet or anything else, but really baby, they call them marginal adjustments, and tiny little adjustment. And then all of a sudden that starts creating a larger opening as you start to see what's possible. And then all of a sudden you can make that exponential advancement. And
it actually really builds up your confidence one inch at a time. Yeah. And yeah, I was just reading something the other day. It was probably on social media because that's where I spend a lot of my time, but it's that how one step and then another step, that's all you have to do, because once you take that step, if it's something you've never done before, you talk to that person, you made that phone call, you know, resigned from that job, or you talk to your boss, or something that you were really nervous to do, and you do that, and it's kind of like, huh, I, I'm, I'm pretty amazing, you know.
Well, and
I did that.
my husband was so, you know, after we jumped out of the airplane, because Marianne was like, I don't really know that I really want to do this. I'm too old. I had all these reasons. She's like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I remember, you know, like, well, it all happened so fast. But when you're out, you know, you're like plummeting through the air. But I just remember, like, afterwards, I was like, I'm amazing. Like, I was singing the songs from that we had selected, and Bernie, my husband, was like, for the love, like, we have to stop about this. But it gave me like such like, gosh, I could do anything. I mean, it just gave you that feeling that you really could, because that was everything that you experience when you're going through a transformation or a transition.
Absolutely.
And you're okay. I mean, that was just like, you do that, but we were okay.
Yep, absolutely. You have the fear, the terror, the excitement, the
uncertainty.
Yeah. And all that mixes together, and then it creates that confidence. And you know, and Shari's a master at walking, I was going to say walking women through that. I mean, you do men as well, but this shows particularly for women over 50. And so, and women over 50 just go through a lot of stuff. I mean, it's like, talk about midlife. You're the sandwich generation, your kids are going off to have their own life, and your marriage changes very often, and your, like Lorna says, your relationships change, and then you decide you want to start maybe a nonprofit, and even if you've retired, there's still something you have left in you to do, and you know, and it's just
and how do you get started, and what do you do, and what does that mean, and do you have the energy to do that? And there's so many things that you can talk yourself out of it so easily.
Oh, absolutely. That's what a community is for, to support.
That's why that was part of the cusp of this whole, isn't she amazing, was to have a community to support those transitions and have resources and just like a tribe that helps you get through it. Because I have to say, I don't know about the clients that you've worked with, Shari, but like for me, like my community and my tribe was what helped me get through that transition. Even just listening to me, like listen to me talk and
absolutely
noodle through it.
It's so important to have the support and the right kind of support. And you know, some of the practical stuff is also important, you know, people that have done it before. So one of the things I suggest for folks is to really take stock. You know, that's a pretty simple thing to do, is like, okay, so for me, I call it dissecting my life, which, you know, because I was in science and stuff, so I dissect. Other people aren't going to
biologist. Yes,
that's fine. You know, they don't need to dissect anything, but just put it all out there and say, what do I like? What's my suite of experience? If you still have an inclination of giving back in some capacity, whether it's through a nonprofit or a volunteer position, or you want to start another business, or you want another career, you know, whatever it is, same process. And look at that, look at your strengths, try to sort all of that out, and then match that with your values, looking at your top values, 10 values or so, write it all out so it can be a real process. You know, this is what I talk about in Reinventing Greatness in that book. So there's a kind of a little bit of a there's an arc of the reinvention experience in there to help folks gain confidence and trust. But I did this myself numerous times in my own life, because your values change, your goals change, what you want to do changes, your perspective changes. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, or even before that, when I was doing, I called it Alpha Horse Leadership Training for Humans, just as a kind of kick that off. I don't do that anymore. I do it totally differently. And I'm even evolving that right now as we speak. So it's fine, but being able to pull all of that together and then starting to feel, using your entire being as a sensor, just like the animals do. So your heart, that's where the values are coming from, but really allowing yourself, I call it living by your own design,
Yeah.
being able to find that vibration, that energy that lights up your heart, and it gets your curiosity going, and you go on this journey of exploration. So you don't have to know exactly what is it right now. You give yourself permission to not know, and to go play and explore and experiment. And you will finally, over time, doing that, you will start to assemble some sense of more curiosity, like noticing where you're really curious, or you're really drawn to, the kind of people that you're drawn to. And then, it naturally starts to open new possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us when some your principles, I know this is hard, the Reinventing Greatness is your most recent book. That was the one that was released in May of 19, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's about due for a new book. Just mentioning that.
Marianne is all about books recently.
Oh my gosh, you have written 4 books or whatever, and we can't keep up with
She's
you,
on
Marianne.
to a new one.
Bar is too high.
But tell us what the basic principles, besides what you've already said about, having the curiosity, maintaining the energy that you're passionate about, and conveying that energy to the people, the environment around you, that you want to respond to that energy. What are some other principles you would say to a woman 50, 60, 70, or even older, who wants to start something new, and she's scared, nervous?
Yeah. So I think several different things is to really put yourself in a situation where you can experience that with this minimal risk. What would that be? Is it going to, say you want to open an organic food store or something? Let's just say it's like, so you can go and visit that place. You can buy from that place, frequent that place. You can go to, any kind of farmers market type things that they have that are involved in that. So you become an observer of that thing, right? You enter into that world. So it's out of your head, get out of your head, go take some action so that you can actually be in proximity to the thing. That is something very practical. Anybody can do. There's no money invested there. It's just your time, right? So that's one thing you could do. If you want to get more involved in whatever capacity, you can volunteer to some type of a nonprofit or some organization that's doing what you want to do. So again, low risk, no money. I'm all about that. If you can start doing that, so that you're starting to see what that looks like, and you can make it real for yourself if it still feels good. Because sometimes you have this thing in your imagination, it's not matching up to the reality once you go in there, and you're like, not so much. Okay, great. So we're going to go move and explore, and you don't want to get deflated by that, right? So we just redirect the energy. So what we're doing is leading ourselves. All of this is a leadership journey. We need to steward, as you said, Marianne, earlier, your thoughts, stewarding your thoughts, your own energy, where you're placing yourself moment to moment. So where you're spending your time, who you're spending your time with, right? Who with? So you want people who are supportive of you. I always say, do what you love for those who you love to serve, who greatly appreciate you. So a lot of people are doing what they love for those who they love to serve, and nobody cares at all about them. Right? They're not, that happens. Like, oh, but I love this. Yeah, but they're not appreciating you. So you're constantly complaining about not feeling appreciated or validated or whatever. Get the heck out. Try something else. It's not making any sense. You're at this, what happens is, I talk about energy vectors all the time. Your vectors are at a crossroads. They're not all going in the same direction. One's actually stopping. So it limits your power. So that's a few things off the top of my head. What other things would you like?
Well, I was just also going to say, you talked about values, and Marianne have been having a lot of conversations about that recently, because that value system and understanding what that is just so important. And so, like, what advice would you give women to just kind of dig deeper into that and really understanding what those, and I'll just give myself as an example. I was working with someone and she kept telling me I needed to like really look at my values. And I was like, I just need to know what I need to do next. That's what I'm trying to decide. And she was like, right, I'm trying to help you decide that. You need to ensure that you're, write down your values, really think about what your top 5 values are. And I recognize, like, my light bulb moment was the times I have not been the happiest was when what I was doing wasn't aligning with my values, like my heart. And so that was, and it was just, but I'm like, I feel like I'm fairly intelligent. Like, how did I not ever recognize that? So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, you don't recognize it because you're in a fear. You're in your brain, your limbic system in your brain is starting to shortcut, right? So it's the heart's protected because it's in fear. It's like, no way, man, I'm not opening because I'm scared. So boom, close down. So all you can do is go to your go-to, which is action, right? Many of us who have been very successful in our lives are workaholics. We work. When we're under stress, we work harder. If something's not working, we put more effort in. We effort things. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that it's not sustainable long term.
Right.
And it's not good if that becomes your default when things are bad, right? So we need to be able to say, awareness is key. So the reinvention or transformation process is awareness. Then you make a decision about something. Then you make the change, then you adapt to the change, and then you grow. 5 stages. You need to know where you are in those stages: awareness, decision, change, adapt, grow. All right. So once you know where you are there, then you can be like, oh gosh, okay. The introspective piece is super important, especially when we're trying to create something new. And as I say, live by your own design, not somebody else's projected future for you, or not what they say you should do. Oh, you'd be great at this. Well, I don't really love that. Okay, but you'd be great. Oh my gosh, but I love it. Get off me, So
I don't want to do that.
Right. So we want to take ownership for our own journey here. And then so the values exercise is completely empty. It's like doing affirmations, saying affirmations with just rattling them off and having no somatic experience whatsoever, meaning body experience. The most important thing about the values is you have to look at that and say, all right, well, how is this currently showing up in my life? How are they being expressed in my life right now? So if you put that together, here's your list. Here's how they're showing up or not showing up. And the way you're going to know is where you spend your time and your money. Right? So if you say, oh, I love to travel, and there's no travel that's happened in the past 5 years, then you've got a values conflict.
Yeah.
Right there. So that's how you just rattling things off. And that's the thing that bothers me sometimes about some folks that give advice and different things, is they're not making it practical. They're not allowing the person to really feel into the space and figure it out, because if your body can't lie. So it's going to help you, but you can't hear it if you're all in the fear-based mode, if you're anxious.
That's so important. And, when Lorna is just finishing up a course that she's teaching for, isn't she amazing, about helping women with their finances. And she finds, we were talking about how she was finding how, so often it's a conflict of values, things we know we should do, things that everybody lists out for you to do, but there's a big disconnect that's going on. And you think, well, it's money, it's not something you feel about, but it is, because we all feel so strongly about money in one way or another. And so she's teaching the women how to be aligned that way with their values and their money, so that they can build the fortune that they want and use their money according to their values. And
or just like you said, like if you're saying I value travel, but you don't allocate any money, or you don't save, like Marianne and I are talking, like don't get your Starbucks every day so you can have this pocket of money to go on this trip. Is that really a value to you? And you either need to stop saying that, or you need to say, yeah, I need to now make some adjustments so that I can live according to my values.
Yeah,
right.
That's such a great point. I'm so glad you're doing that class, Lorna. It's so important. And the energy of money is a real thing. What's our relationship to the energy of money? And boy, you start looking into that, and because we have relationships with everything, we have relationships with inanimate things all the time. It doesn't have to be a living being. And so taking a look at that and saying, gosh, what is my relationship with money? When I think about money, do I get scared and immediately start shutting down? Or do I feel like I'm living in abundance? And it may be certain triggers, happen on one or the other, but being aware and understanding, that's the first step towards transforming that relationship.
Now, do you find that like all of these kind of like these triggers or these feelings stem from like you as a young girl, or that some of those fears were instilled in you from way back when?
And I don't know. I mean, that might be more of a therapeutic question with Marianne, but I think they can come from anywhere. I mean, some of it, we like to blame our parents for all kinds of things. and honestly, some things we just need to let go of, and maybe they're vestiges from something that happened at youth. Maybe there's something that happened in your first job. Maybe it's something that happened last week. You got triggered. We could get triggered. I actually don't care why. Because I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to go back and try to unpack all of that stuff. What I want to do is, here we are right now, and what can we do right now to transform on the spot and move forward? And it's amazing. So I'm always about this high impact action, high impact leadership, all of that.
Yeah.
And it's fast. You don't need a whole long, arduous, drawn out process. We can make change right now, and we can be a different person right now, in the next 5 minutes or right now. And I know that to be true.
That's true.
It does take, we need to steward ourselves carefully and also be gentle with ourselves as we marshal ourselves and lead ourselves through this process. So it's very simple, but it's not easy.
Exactly. Because the principles, it's simply, if you do this, you're going to be on a different trajectory than if you do this. You'll be on that trajectory. And it just, like you were talking about micro changes a little while ago, and that's all it takes, is like a rudder of a ship. It's a tiny little thing, but it can make the ship go in a completely different direction by just turning it a little bit. And you can turn it now by one of those micro steps. I don't think that's what you called it, but that's sort of what it was, what you were talking about. And just one step at a time, because, our old friend Einstein says, nothing happens until something moves. So you can sit on your couch and hope to heaven all day long, and you're not going to end up in Paris, and you're not going to start a new business, and you're not going to read that book, and you're not going to befriend that person unless you get off your butt, go to the phone, make a phone call, or at least go to Google and look it up.
And Google knows everything.
And it's always right. So
yeah, we always.
But Shari,
or Chat GPT.
Right, because Chat GPT knows everything. So Shari, as we're getting ready to close up, is there a specific thing that we haven't talked about that you think women in the latter part of their lives really either need to know or need to do today? Because Lorna and I like to close our podcast with an action step. We like to say, this is what you want. Let's make a plan, and then let's do the first thing. And usually I like to see people do it like you do, I think, because that's what you told me to do. Raise your rates right away. But if you don't do that so often, it just won't become as compelling a need, and it'll fade into the background. So a word of action that you would say to a woman in not a crisis necessarily, but a change in her life, and she's nervous, what should she do today?
Yeah. Well, first thing, as you have tattooed on your wrist, is breathe. Take that nice deep breath and get yourself into a calmer state. That's a number one. So if you don't know how to do that, go figure out how to do that. Take the breath, land. There's lots of advice out there, but really do that, because what happens is if we don't have that energy in the right place, that's your emotion and your energy, then the action might be screwed up. Right.
Right.
So get that breath so that you're like, know that anything is possible. There are infinite possibilities for your own experience every single moment. Know that. We know that. All right. And then take one tiny step. Feel the discomfort. That's the edge of your comfort zone. That's a growth zone. Very important. And just take that step. As Marianne and Lorna were saying, go to Google, but then I would say, don't hide behind your screen. All right. Take the step, be accountable to yourself, be your own best friend, and hold your own hand, your own, metaphorical hand, and just walk yourself through this. Yes. And if you get scared, then you call Marianne and Lorna and they'll work you out.
Or Shari.
or me, and get in the community, because life is too short to not be doing what we're here to do. And so many of us are in service to community, in service to family, in service to anyone. But the reality is you're in service to the world right as you are right now. And just taking that one extra step will empower yourself to help so many other people by your own example. And you'll just feel really fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you, Shari. Where's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably the website. I think Jager too, I'm all over Facebook. So you can just Google my name and find Facebook. Or you can check out, if you're interested in anything with my business, you can go to jaeger2.com, JAEGER, the number 2.com. And there's some information there.
And you'll find lots of resources with Shari that she'll walk you through whatever transition you're dealing with. So Shari, thank you for taking time to be with us today. We really appreciate it. And Lorna, one final question or comment?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Just in reading look at your last book, you made a statement that said how you lead your life is a choice. And I thought that was wonderful, because it is like, it's our choice on how to lead our lives. So I just wanted to close with that. And, your book is really great. It has a lot of great guidance. So
Reinventing Greatness. Good book.
Well, thank you both so much. It's really an honor and so fun to be with you, and so fun to see what you're up to and be part of this community. So thank you so much for having me on.
And thank you.